Ups and downs and burdens and crowns. It's Rhyme and Reason 422.
There's a rhyme and reason for your life. There's a rhyme and reason.
Hey there, Tony here again with another episode of Rhyme and Reason on the roller coaster of life. Ups and downs and burdens and crowns. Every single life is full of ups and downs. Nobody really gets out of that. And I think you probably could agree with me on that. I've mentioned before how I worked hard labor during my teenage summers. No, not in prison. How could you even think that? And I'm looking at you when I ask that, and you know who you are. Anyway, I hauled hay in the hot Kansas sun, up to 18 hours for 5, 6, and sometimes 7 days a week. This is when I was a teenager, like I said. And when I say hot Kansas sun, think about being out in the middle of a hayfield that is acres and acres and hundreds of bales of hay, and it's 100 degrees. And that's no exaggeration. It would do that. One good thing about it, well, the really good thing about it is it kept me slim and made me strong. But what does that have to do with life's ups and downs, you ask? Well, thanks for asking. As strong as I became, I wasn't immune to life's ups and downs. It didn't do that for me, you know. I didn't get real strong and, hey, I'll never have any physical problems. Because continuing on to my 20s and 30s and even into my 40s, I was really quite the physical specimen. I was in great shape, if I do say so myself, and I just did, apparently. Okay. Matter of fact, my wife can attest, and she will, and I didn't force her to, and I didn't bribe her to. She'd tell you how I used to haul my upright piano around by myself, because she's too small to help when it comes to lifting up things like that into the truck. And anytime we moved, which was a lot back then, it was really nothing for me to carry the piano and couches and stuffed chairs by myself. I'd just do it, and I could walk up flights of stairs and do all that. I don't know. That's how it was. So I bragged on myself just now because, I wanted to share those ups with you to illustrate a point. In my late 30s, I started feeling like my neck was just basically always out of joint, so to speak. So, I'd do the usual thing of going to the doctor and they'd want to prescribe something. I wouldn't want to do that. So I went to a chiropractor, and then I went to multiple chiropractors for adjustments. But nothing seemed to help. And this went on for a few years. Occasionally, I'd even pick up something heavy, and my whole back would just seize up on me suddenly. I'd just be like, oh, what was that? And I could barely breathe and couldn't move. It'd take me a few days, and I'd have to get out and walk solidly to kind of loosen it all up again. And then one day in my mid-40s, after experiencing a numb tingling in my right hand for a while, I decided to go to another doctor. And he sent me to have a CT scan. And the scan discovered a tumor on my spinal cord. So our primary doctor at the time referred me to a specialist surgeon in Denver, and Elgeline and I went and saw him. And after looking at the CT scan, the specialist surgeon told us we needed to, as he said, quoting him, get your house in order. And he said my choices were to have the operation to remove the tumor, or eventually total paralysis, and then eventually death. And those were pretty attention-getting words, I must say. And given those choices, I was thinking, I think I'll pick one from column A there. Elgeline and I left his office not saying anything. We rode the elevator down and went back out to the parking lot. When we got in our van, she looked over at me and said, well, can you believe that just happened? And we both laughed a little, maybe out of nervousness, but we really began taking some things one step at a time. Now, that was one of life's downs. And instead of boring you with all the operation and recovery details, I'll just say this. I've lived a bunch of years since then, and quite a few, over a couple of decades, and that's one of life's ups. So more years to be with my beautiful wife and more time to experience this gift of life from God. And I would say that my story is just one of millions of similar stories. But the sad news, the news I know is so much more depressing, is how many people go through similar things with no connection to God. They already don't have hope of eternal life. And then they find out a lot of hope is swept out from under them in this temporal life too. I can't imagine, I don't want to imagine, not having the hope of eternal life. So my hope for you today is that you already have that hope. And if not, I hope you'll latch onto it sooner rather than later. If the current events don't show you what a vapor this life is, I hate to think of what it would take. So give yourself a break you'll never regret, and do it today before you forget. God can give you ups and cover your downs. Give up your burdens, replace them with crowns. That's it for this episode of Rhyme and Reason, brought to you by TonyFunderburk.com. And as always, remember, life has rhyme and reason because God made you.
There's a